All right, so today I want to just introduce you to some concepts around fractions. Um, when you think about a fraction, such as if I look at this square and think of it as one whole, so this square is one whole, you notice it's cut into four pieces. Now, one important idea with fractions is those pieces must be equal. So we would say this square is cut into four equal pieces. And if I give you the yellow part, the highlighted parts, you would have three out of those four equal pieces. So we talk about this as being 3/4 of the whole thing. So 3 out of 4. If I look down a little further, and we say, okay, this square is also a whole, but now it's cut up differently. It's cut into equal pieces, but now I don't have 4. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal pieces. So it's cut into 6 equal pieces, and if I give you the green part, you would have 1 out of that 6 equal pieces, or 1/6 of the whole. Now let's look at a different representation. If I was to look at this number line and say, okay, from here to here is 1 unit. And I want to know, okay, if I was at where this first green dot is, how far have I moved? How much of a unit? So I haven't moved one whole unit, but I've moved some parts of the unit. So first thing we have to figure out is what that unit's divided into, how many equal parts. So again, if I was to count this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's cut into tenths, or 10 equal pieces, so each one of these little subdivisions would be a tenth. So this would be 1/10 and 2/10, 3/10. So this fraction is 3/10. This would be 4/10 and 5/10 and 6/10. So this next dot would be at 7/10. 7/10 of the way there. 8/10, 9/10, and 10/10 would represent one whole, or you're there. So it's kind of like you're on a trip. And this first dot would say, well, you're 3/10 of the way there. The second dot would be 7/10 of the way there. When you arrive at the 1, you are actually there. So, all right, when I'm looking at a fraction, we need to introduce some terminology. The top number is called the numerator. So 3 is the numerator. And the bottom number, the 5, is called the denominator. Now, the way I remember that is D down. The number that's down in the bottom is the denominator. And when I see 3/5, we can think of it as 3 out of 5 equal pieces. Or if you split something into 5 equal parts, you have 3 out of those 5 parts. Or if the trip's split into 5 equal parts, you've covered 3 out of those 5, right? Now, a fraction can also be thought of as a division. So if I see 3/5, that's the same as 3 divided by 5, right? Now, another really important idea in mathematics is this idea that a denominator can never be 0. And the reason for that is division by 0 is not really a defined operation. And we'll be talking about division a little more later on in the chapter here. But if you think about division, we're talking about making up equal groups or groups of. Well, it doesn't make sense to make groups of 0, nor does it make sense to make 0 groups. Like I need to make up 1 group or 2 groups or 3 groups, but I can't make up 0 groups. That doesn't make sense. I can even make an argument for half a group, but I can't make an argument for a 0 group. So something like this is not defined. I cannot have 0 in the denominator because that's what I'm dividing by. Whereas this is okay. That would be equal to 0. So if I think about that, and the story I often tell is I have no money and I want to split it between 5 of us. Well, I can do that. Everybody gets no money, right? All right, a couple more ideas. We can also think of as a fraction as a ratio of two things. So if I look here, I have 1, 2, 3 stars and 5 circles. So if I wanted the ratio of stars to circles, we would say there's 3 stars for 5 circles. Now if I reverse that and said, well, what's the ratio of circles to stars? Well, there's 5 circles and 3 stars. And sometimes we write it like this. Now we can also write it like this. or like this as a fraction, right? And they mean basically the same thing. All right, two other terms that again we'll use quite a bit, proper fraction and improper fraction. Now a proper fraction, in a proper fraction the numerator is smaller than the denominator, so a proper fraction is always less than 1. So for example, 3/5 is a proper fraction. Okay, it's less than 1. Okay, an improper fraction, the numerator is actually smaller than the denominator is actually smaller than the numerator. So this fraction, 5/3 or 5/3, is an improper fraction. And what you'll notice is, let me spell that right, fraction. An improper fraction is bigger than 1. What do I mean by that? Well, think about this for a minute. If I was thinking about this as pieces, we could say, well, I'm splitting something into 3 pieces and you have 5. Well, if you have 5 out of the 3 pieces, you have more than 1. You have 1 2/3. And that's how we'd write that improper fraction as a mixed fraction.